Hi, my name is natekokernot and I want to welcome you once again to my channel. For the last week, I've been exploring different perspectives on history that point to the idea that it loops around again and again. The characters look different, the styles and trends are shifting, certainly, as new technologies come and old ones go, but the general storyline is on repeat, and there are clear patterns that can be seen repeating in its cycles. Today I'm going to talk about a concept that originated from the fields of information theory and from biology called the free energy principle. I'll start with giving you ChatGPT's overview of it. The free energy principle, FPF, is a theoretical framework from neuroscience and theoretical biology developed by Karl Friston to explain how living systems maintain themselves in a state of order amidst constant environmental uncertainty. It suggests that all living systems resist a natural tendency towards disorder, entropy, by minimizing free energy, which is a measure of the discrepancy between an organism's internal predictions and its sensory inputs. Now, once I heard about it about a year ago, my intuitive mind realized that it applies to all systems of thought and all areas of research, not just biology. My favorite demonstration of it is in nature, partly due to the fact that it can be turned into a greater metaphor for history. It's the behavior of waves in the ocean. I recently discovered that ocean waves crash at the precise moment when the height of the wave exceeds 1/7 the length of the width of the wave. At that moment, the foundation is too narrow to support the height of novel energy emerging upwards, and the wave crashes back into itself. And it gets reintegrated. First, big splash, then foam, then bubbles, then reintegration into water, ready to receive the next delivery of novel energy. Then there's the cycle of waves to look at. Any of you that surf, or who love to watch the waves come in like I do, know that there is a natural pattern to the waves in terms of their size, and that every 8th wave, give or take, is extra large. Supposing we called the waves decades for the sake of this argument. Now, with this metaphor, we can see how there is a parallel between the patterns of the waves and the patterns of the decades passing, and that approximately every 8 decades, the chaos of such a surplus of information crashes into destruction, perhaps because it has reached a level where established strategies for restoring calm and order are no longer sufficient. The whole system has to be destroyed and built anew afterwards, with new institutions that are hopefully improvements over the old ones that could not sustain themselves anymore. If we look at history in this way, it is both hopeful and discouraging at the same time, but it's also kind of a reverse hopeful and discouraging. What I mean by that is that it's always darkest right before the dawn. I have this attitude towards the seasons because I definitely prefer the warmer months of the year, of being more optimistic in my views near the end of winter because I know that spring is arriving soon. My attitude towards the chaos and disorder that is on view if I look at the news today is exactly the same as my attitude towards the seasons. Spring is coming. I just have to brace myself and dress warmly, and I can endure the last unpleasant days of winter, knowing that warmer days are coming soon. If anyone out there thinks that the chaos and disorder that are on display in our national and world politics spells doom, I would beg you to reframe it with me. The world, one day, will end in laughter. It won't end in nuclear war. There have already been many close calls with nuclear war. Most of us don't even know about them. But somehow, each time, the Holy Spirit has stepped in. Maybe by getting to the conscience of just one individual in the chain of command to avert the doomsday disaster yet again. The way I see it is that while the institutions that we have are helpful and supportive, they also do get outdated and no longer represent such great solutions. Every once in a while, or about every 8 decades, they need to be reinvented. And since we can't all seem to agree as to how, they just crash and burn due to the free energy spilling over. And then we have a clean slate again, and can hopefully put our heads and our hearts together to reinvent them in a way that works best for the most people. It is a necessary part of nature's cycle. The free energy also shows up in the collective consciousness of human beings in unfortunate manifestations as well. I'm thinking here about school shootings. Any of you who were alive when the Columbine shootings took place back in 1909 will remember that it was a really big deal at the time. We all talked about it for weeks afterwards. The free energy principle also explains the eventual normalization of mass shootings like that one. There were 2 mass shootings just this past Sunday. Yes, we're talking about them, but no, we're not talking about them like they're crazy, surreal events anymore. They're just commonplace now. We've gotten used to them. The human mind needs to resist disorder by any means necessary, and simply getting used to things that were once alarming is another way in which it presents. We could say that the free energy principle is the cosmic dance between order and chaos, and that it is simply a law of the universe. The novelties pile up, as any system involving free will and 8 billion conscious agents is bound to do, and the system at large swallows them up quite naturally over time and brings them back to consistency and order. And on the emotional level, understanding that the system works this way, we begin to appreciate that there seems to be a higher order that encompasses the dance between order and chaos. That makes the whole picture seem a lot less faithful, since it's just really going round and round. We can become surfers of the free energy if we get on top of the waves, and those of us who are frightened and panic will likely get tossed around by the chaos of the moment more, at least on the emotional level, than those of us who can see the pattern will. We can relax because spring is coming. Now, here again, I have to dip back into basic human behavioral psychology to point out the usefulness of this principle. When we're scared and frightened, our cognitive functions are majorly impaired. We do not tend to make the most clear and rational decisions when we are emotionally escalated. We know this. So on an individual level, it makes sense that if we're not feeling scared, we're not going to be as reactive to the events that transpire, and logically, we're not going to be contributing to the chaos. That's how we will eventually get to the other side of this big wave that we're in right now, by not panicking and running around like the sky is falling. It's not. We're just in the final act of a Shakespeare tragedy, and we can all applaud and go home fairly soon. This isn't just for your peace of mind that I suggest these ideas. Peace on earth is a possibility if enough of us are in possession of peace of mind to turn the trends away from destruction to construction again. And that's why I called my book How to Change the World by Changing Your Mind. Yes, it's going to take more than just you choosing peace instead of fear and hatred. But your mind is the only one you're truly responsible for changing. So focus on that. And if when enough of us do this, the trends will begin to shift towards love once again. And that's my hopeful message to you today. I hope it made sense, and that you'll like and subscribe to my channel so that the algorithm can get behind these sorts of things. I said it the other day, I think fear is definitely trending these days, and as long as that's the case, things are going to continue to look quite frightening out there. But we all have the power to shift our minds towards love again, and to extend that love to those around us. Have a beautiful day, full of blessings and miracles, and I will see you again next time. Bye.